Hi, welcome to NDE TV. I'm Peggy Robinson. Today's guest is Paul Northridge, and he's going to tell us about his near-death experience. Hi, Paul.
Hi, Peggy. You okay?
Yeah. So feel
Good.
free to start where you like and take as long as you like.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thanks for the invitation. Thank you very much.
Uh-huh.
Um, what happened with myself is that I was born with spina bifida. So that's basically a problem with the spine from birth. And so I've had many operations, and I get to the point of 14, and I was about to have a leg lengthening operation. So that meant I had to have a muscle relaxant administered before the anesthetic. That was to make the muscle relaxed, I guess, for the operation. But anyway, so as I'm in the theatre, I'm given this medication. And then a moment later, I'm feeling not so well, and I'm feeling pain throughout my body, and especially in my hands. So I looked at my hands first of all, and I thought, okay, they're very big and they're red. I'm thinking, oh gosh, this is not good. So I turned to look at my surgeon. He's done many operations on me before. Mr. Newton is my surgeon, or was my surgeon. And I said to Mr. Newton, please look at this. And he's turning around to look at me. And the next thing I'm realizing I'm out. It's black. And I'm seeing a vision of black. But at this point, as soon as I'm in black, it's not me anymore. I'm not Paul Northridge anymore at that moment. I'm seeing, obviously with eyes, I don't have eyes anymore. So I'm seeing black in my some kind of a vision that I'm looking through. And as I get to the next point, I'm coming out of my body at an angle of whatever it is. I don't know what angle it is, but it's not right above myself, but I'm at an angle. So I'm looking down at myself. I'm seeing nurses, I'm seeing doctors, and they're just trying to get me back to life again, really. So I'm coming out of there. I'm not panicking. I'm not nervous in any way. I'm feeling quite calm. Um, and it's hard to describe because I'm no longer Paul Northridge again. So I'm not thinking as a human being anymore. I'm thinking, oh, that was my body kind of thing. It's like I will do with my car. If my car broke down, I'll be like, oh well, it was my car. It wasn't my thing that I owned, kind of thing almost. That's what it felt like. Um, so I'm looking down there, and then as I'm looking down, then I'm noticing almost coming down at an angle from me. It looked like on the wall. It looked like a portal almost opening up on the hospital wall, and it's like beings of light coming towards me. Three beings of light coming towards me, and so as I'm seeing them coming closer to me, when they get to more nearer to where I am, that's when communication started. So they came towards me and then stopped. We communicated. The communication was loving, and I felt that in my soul that I knew them. So I'm feeling like connection already and love, unconditional love. And they're saying to me, "Do you want to go away from this area?" And I'm saying, "Well, yes, I'll go away with you." And at the moment of agreement of that, then I'm just momentarily I'm then into the next realm. The next realm I call it home. Really, my soul naturally felt it was in a home environment, and I'm also being shown around. So I think it's almost like a feeling of like amnesia. Feels like I've been here before, but also then being shown around again, trying to get my bearings again in home. And so as I'm looking around and they're showing me around, I noticed that there was souls arriving with their guides. I'm also noticing that there was a game in the air, but there is no land, there is no air. It's not earth planet. You can't really describe it. Very, very similar to Earth. There's no land. You're not walking. You don't have any arms. You don't have any legs. You're not walking. So there's no land to walk on. You can understand that. It's very hard to describe. But anyway, I'm going across, and then I'm invited then to the next stage, and that's to have a. Oh no, I didn't. Sorry, let me go back a little bit. I was then going towards the life review part, but then I was seeing a soul that was having like a. It was basically having a bit of a bad time coming back from human being to a soul. So they described to me just to leave that soul alone, because it was only like a cocoon or a booth, or it was anyway. Something was over it, and lots of colours were going from this area. And yeah, so I understood that this soul had a bad experience, and they're just trying to get themselves back to healing. So then I'm invited to the next part, and that was my life review. So that's very weird to describe. It's not a well, but the nearest thing I could say to somebody, if I was to give it some kind of earthly reference, I'll say well. So as I'm looking at the well, it almost then comes into me, and so it's like we connect to each other, and so as I'm looking into the well, it comes onto me, and so then I could then see everything. I could see the past, I could see present, future, everything in one go. And so as I'm looking, first of all, I'm looking at the past, and that's where I had childhood experiences. I was only 14 at the time, so I'm looking at childhood experiences, my primary school experiences, and one moment where, unfortunately, I bullied for a short period. I bullied a little bit because there was a moment where children bullied me a lot. I had problems with walking, so children saw me as a target and they bullied me a lot. And I had a lot of problems with that, with bullying in school. So I thought, okay, enough of this. I'm going to change it around. I'm only about 7 at the time. But I thought, okay, let's change it around. And I did. For a short time, I bullied back. And I felt that child's pain in that moment of life review. I could see their confusion, their pain. Yeah, just I could feel everything about what they were feeling. Then I could then see present. And I remember very clearly my parents in the kitchen, and I could see their thoughts. They wasn't talking to each other. They were thinking, "Oh, Paul's having an operation. I wonder how he's doing right now." And we will prepare this lovely food because they have every time I had an operation, they always gave me something some nice treats. They always did that for me. So yeah, they're like saying, wonder how he's doing, and we'll get this nice food for him. So I could see that thought process, and then I saw future. Again, I'm only 14, but I saw many things that were not relative to me at 14, but eventually relatively as I get older. So I saw Russia, my connection to Russia, and I married a Russian lady. And again, I didn't realize I was going to be married to a Russian lady. It's happened over, I call it synchronicity. It happened over synchronicity, really. It meant to be kind of a thing. So then I saw things like myself driving. I never thought I would be driving. Disabled person like myself, I never heard of people driving. So I thought, I'm not driving. So anyway, I did pass my driving test. I can drive. So I saw that. I saw even a future death. Maybe I get to Russia and I probably will die of old age, looking very weak, looking very, very tired. But I distinctly remember seeing a lady next to me, maybe my wife, another lady around the bed on the other side, probably my daughter. Yeah, it looked like I was in a flat because it looked quite high up and it looked very different to England buildings. It looked more like a flat in Russia. That's what I saw. Yeah, so that is the general gist of it so far. And then once I had the life review, I came back to the point of then being asked, do you want to go or do you want to stay? And at that point, I'm seeing light, and I said, well, I don't want to stay where I am now because I felt like if I was to stay where I am, I'm going to go back again and become Paul Northridge again, have all the school experiences that I had, and thinking, no way, no way, I'm not doing that again. So I thought, okay, now I'll go back to Paul Northridge now, and that's what I did. So I agreed to go back, and I woke up in hospital very full of life. I was normally drowsy after an operation, but this time I was just like, I don't know, they gave me adrenaline, get myself back to normal, but I was full. I was just beaming of life, which is very unusual for me as an operation. But yeah, so that was my general gist there, Peggy.
Were you able to tell anyone right away, or did it take a while?
So when I was 14, I didn't know about near-death experiences. I knew that they were panicking when I came. I just thought I passed out when I had it. I thought I just, went unconscious. But I didn't realize I actually died, really. But then Mr. Newton, he basically came to my parents in hospital just to say how's Paul doing after his operation. Normally just doing checks and making sure that I'm okay. He had to die. He had to basically say to my parents that unfortunately we had to resuscitate me because this muscle relaxant was, it basically stopped my heart. I think it relaxed my heart, I believe. And a big red sticker. It was massive. It was basically covering a big chunk of my folder. Went on there and said, "Yeah, do not give this patient this medication because it's a very adverse reaction." But when I got to 20 something, that's when I realized it was a near-death experience because I watched the documentaries and I thought, okay, so they're telling me on this TV program, they saw themselves out of the body, they had a life review, they saw a light, and I thought, yeah, exactly, that's what I saw. So that's when it made sense that I was doing the same thing, really.
The beings, were they light? Could you see anything else?
Yeah, so basically, as they came towards me, they looked almost like a head and shoulders, and then it started to like dissolve somewhat. So that's what it felt like when I first saw them. I felt like it was like a head, but no eyes, no nose, no features. The colours were more like a silverish colour to it. Very much like your background as well. Lots of colours coming off them as well. It was yeah, and very very loving. Just came to me, just whooshed over to me like love. Well,
So it was colorful.
colourful, yeah, silverish more, but then like like it will like gleam of colours coming through, just like flashes of colours coming through around them. It's hard to describe fully, but that's what I would just generally would say about them. Yes.
Did you hear anything audibly? Was everything telepathic?
Everything was telepathic. Yes. Again, no eyes, no nose, no facial features. So everything was done by telepathy, and I just felt that they were my guides to get me from one place to another. But I do distinctively do feel that that we know each other. But everything was done by telepathy. Yes.
Did you have a body?
I didn't see myself in the mirror. I'll be honest with you. But every soul, because I mean, in home, it was like a massive area. I mean, it's vast. and there's thousands, millions of souls out there, and it's just like a dry ice look at the bottom. It's like a dry ice feeling to it, and then the sky is hard to describe really, but there's no really land and sky. But myself, I would say I was exactly like everybody else because I just saw persons that I said like the guides. I think I was like a guide because everyone else was like a guide as well. I felt like we looked like each other. There's no differences from what I saw. Yes.
So they were kind of head, down the shoulders, kind of a light.
Yeah, light. I think also we could also change shape somewhat because when I saw the game in the air, I just felt like there's like a ball that was chasing. It was some kind of a ball game going off, but I felt like this ball was actually another soul, and I think you can also manipulate because again everything's more fluid. So I think you can manipulate yourself somewhat. But I didn't spend enough time to realize that you can do this, you can do that. I didn't fly. I didn't go, whizzing off. I felt like I was here to do this life review. I don't know if I had the free will. It sounds interesting. The question's going off in my head now. Was it free will or not? I don't know. I just felt like I was here to do this life review next, and it felt like I was just told to do these things.
Were you told anything significant or that you didn't know?
For Earth wise, no. It was more about myself, if I'm honest with you. It was more about where I was, and I just saw in this like life review still, they gave me like an education as well, and I could see things like birth. I could see the spark of life happening at conception, baby growing up. Maybe it was me growing up. I don't know in the womb. Then the birth, and then I saw things like a cat purring, and when a cat purred, I could actually see from its throat. I could see colors and shapes going off, and it's like an energy of love that the cat is doing. And I saw the same with like dogs. Dogs have like unconditional love, which obviously they do have, and protection, and yeah, that's the reasons why they're there, and also to show unconditional love is the way forward for human beings. It's something to learn from, really.
So I know you had life review, but did you know who you were? Like, did you realize you were dead?
I realized that was my body kind of thing, but I didn't think as a soul, I'm not thinking, oh my gosh, I want to go back into there straight away. I wasn't thinking, oh gosh, I'm dying. Let's go back in there and get me back to life. I wasn't thinking that. When I had the life review, it felt like it was done in a nice way. Even the points where I was bullying for a short period, it wasn't like a telling off. It wasn't like saying don't do that again, kind of a thing. It was more like you understand what you did, and I'm like going, yes, I understand what I did. It was completely wrong, and how to behave better. And I came back with 3 words, which were love, learning, and connection. That's the 3 words that came to me, and yeah, so I had like a life review of her life, but I also had a life review of previous deaths as well. So before seeing myself maybe as a child, I saw also previous deaths. It feels like it was almost like death, 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 and some were quite horrific. One I could see was dying on wooden spikes, and that when I came back to 14 years of age, Paul Northridge again, I'm thinking, oh, that was horrible. That was gross. And so that what I remember. I remember also one more, which is quite recent, came into my head, where I was like a village leader or something, and we had a fight, and I died in this fight between another person in the village. We had a bit of an argument, and I died in that fight. So another one that came through recently, just by talking to yourself and writing to yourself, I remember this thought. So yeah, so things still come through gradually.
Who do you think these people were, or these spirits?
Good question. I just feel that we keep going back to home, and I keep coming back as a soul being. I don't know if we keep recycling ourselves as souls to humans and backwards and forwards, and maybe some souls are also going back to then another realm, maybe another planet, and doing similar things, but learning different experiences as different entity, maybe. So I think maybe, yeah, I think we are basically having a school education on Earth, but then we go back to the next realm of Earth, I mean of home, and then learn those things. If we learn as much as we can, maybe then we go back to then another level of another realm. So yeah, that's my thoughts.
Do you remember when you first told about what happened?
When Mr. Newton said that I died, yeah, basically it was quite surprising, thinking like, oh yes, okay, right, I understand. Yeah, so what I do remember being, obviously dying, well, passing out. I thought, okay, so this big red sticker and Mr. Newton saying that you have to be resuscitated, it made me feel like obviously I did die, but again, at 14, I never heard of near-death experiences. I just thought, okay, so I did have a moment where I passed out and of black and all these experiences, but I never thought it was a near-death experience in that way, because I never even heard. I just thought it was a very surreal dream. I thought it was a very, very strong dream because I remembered it very, very well. And if I had a chance now at my 50 years of age, go back to me and say, Paul, write down everything, because it's going to be really, really important, because so many things between 14 to 50 I do forget. I do remember a lot, but also I've forgotten many, many things, especially the education side of things. There's a huge amount of education. I mean, I remember obviously the conception, cats, dogs, but lots of it I did forget, unfortunately.
Do you feel like you changed as a person afterwards?
Yeah, good question. I was born and into like Catholic. I was a Catholic school child. My mum was or is Catholic, and so I went to Catholic school, and so about 12 years of age, I started feeling a little bit. It's not for me, kind of thoughts going off, and I don't want to upset anybody. I'm not. Everyone's got their own thoughts. Everyone can think what they want to believe about being Catholic and or any religion really. My own journey was that being Spina Bifida, a lot of moments in my life before that, nurses, school teachers were like nuns, and they tried to heal me a lot with like prayers, with the holy water. They really tried to get me back to normal legs, and but unfortunately, it never happened. And so a lot of wishing and hoping going off, and then never happening. I got a little bit disappointed. I apologize about the parrots. She decided to get involved in my conversation.
Oh, okay.
Okay, it's good. But basically, yeah, I got disappointed about God and the idea of being healed. because it didn't happen. And I think maybe I was thinking like, I don't deserve to be healed, and all this kind of thing going off in my head. So I as a 14-year-old after the near-death experience and onwards, I started to feel that I'm more spiritual. I'm more about being connected to each other, about loving each other. There's no, from my perspective, there was no need to go to a place to be kind and loving to each other. I just felt it's the place is me. That's my place. So I began to be less religious and more try to follow my own memory of being loving and unconditional love to people and being kind and caring, really.
Okay. So you wrote a book?
I wrote a book, yes. It's been out a little while already. So basically, the book is called Walk of Life, Feet on the Ground. So it's like a double barrel name. The idea of Walk of Life, Feet on the Ground is because of Spina Bifida. I thought, okay, I'll write about what it's like to have Spina Bifida. There are good things and there are bad things. There are funny things. So I just tried to put everything in this book about that. And also, I put it into the book about near-death experiences as well, and myself in that way. And I hope that people find something from it. Maybe they will find that dying is not the end. You do reincarnate, and maybe not to panic so much. Also, I try to do it because of people to understand what it's like to have a disability, because most people are just walking and not realize what it's like to not walk so well, and the struggles of how to walk for me, for example. I did have to have operations, and every time I had an operation, I had to walk a different way. You had to learn how to walk in a different style. And yeah, so there are many funny stories as well. I do have good humor, and people have said to me already, Paul, the books help me and either made me laugh or it made me realize what life is about. I've just had so many people complimenting me already, and so if it helped one person, brilliant. That's what I did it for. I mean, I've done more than that already. I've had so many nice people telling me great things, so I'm proud of it. I really am proud of it.
So you have a wife and daughter now?
I do, yes. So it's a lovely little story. If you don't mind, can I share that with you?
Sure.
Okay. So what happened was, so I'm getting towards like 30s, and so I'm thinking at this time, because I have spina bifida again, and I've been like dating maybe so many years. I've had dates, and I'm thinking I'm not dateable. It sounds I made a new word, but I thought I was undateable. So and I thought, okay, I'll give up. And I gave up. I started to, sorry to say, I started to drink alcohol too much. But that's also in my book as well. It does go into that area. So I'm drinking a lot of alcohol at the time, and then I started to then write to a lady in Russia. So my best friend from college days, he's a great musician, great entertainer. So he went off from college to then perform in hotels. And as is in different hotels, he starts then to meet up with a lady who's also a Russian lady, and she's a waitress in this hotel. They start again talking and friends and then relationship. And as they get into that moment of relationship, Kate, his girlfriend at the time, said, would you mind writing to Yulia? She wants to learn English. I said, okay, yeah, that's fine, no problem at all. So I started to write to Yulia, and so years go by, and Lee and Kate get married in Russia. So I thought, okay, I'll go over, get to see their wedding in Russia. I meet Yulia for the first time, and by then her daughter Decided to be a little bit older, maybe I think she was about I think about 2 years, I think 2 years old at the time. So I'm seeing her. She didn't really recognize me, obviously. But anyway, long story short, anyway, I'm saying hi to her. I'm saying hi to Julia, but nothing happened. The wedding happened. It was a great wedding. I go back home, and I continue to write to Julia. And anyway, another 2 years go by. I thought, okay, I'm still friends with Julia, and I want to meet up again and maybe just see more of Russia. And so they said, okay, we'll have a nice hotel, nice holiday for you. We'll take you around Moscow and many nice places. I thought, great, nice. So I fly over, and it's a week's holiday, and Anya, I'll say our daughter, Anya's then started saying, Papa this, Papa that. And I'm saying to Yulia, is she calling me dad? And she said, yes. And she's obviously 4 years old by now, and she's calling me dad. And so I thought, okay, fair enough, that's interesting. And anyway, I get to the penultimate day before my flight. We get to Moscow, and so I'm in Moscow, having a lovely view and seeing nice places in Moscow. And so we get to another building. I think it's called the Great Church in Moscow, and it's a white building, golden globes on top. And so we go inside, and we by that point, because my first holiday, Yulia didn't know much English, so it was like Vada, water, hello, privyet. We couldn't talk very much. So 2 years later, Yulia's Russian, Yulia's English, so much better, so much better than my Russian, so much. So anyway, so we became very, very talking. We talked in this church, and as we talked in the church, I became quite philosophical, and Yulia did. And then I mentioned about my near-death experience, and I'm telling her all about it. And then she says, "Oh gosh," I said, "What?" My mum had exactly the same thing. I said, "What?" Yeah, my mum had a near-death. She went out of body. Da, da, da. I'm thinking, wow. And as she's saying to me, she got quite emotional, and she was sort of like crying. And I gave her a hug, and I said, I'm liking this hug a little bit too much here. And she says, Paul, me too. And so rather than writing, we came back. I came back to England. We thought, okay, let's start to Skype. And so we Skyped, and we had a date every night on well, not every night, but we dated a lot on Skype. Yulia came to England. I went to Russia and so on. And eventually I got married in 2008 and in Russia. And so going back to my near-death experience, I did see a ceremony in Russia, but I didn't know what it was because when I got to understand it wasn't a near-death, sorry, once I understood it wasn't a white wedding in my head, when I saw my near-death experience life review, I didn't see a white wedding. And I'm thinking, I'm never going to get married. That's what I really thought. So I thought, okay, give up. That's why I thought, okay, I'll just enjoy myself, drink a little bit too much, and it wasn't the right way. So anyway, I started to like date Yulia. The drinking went, and so I get Yulia and Anya to the country, and yeah, so yeah, the alcohol relationship is completely opposite to each other now.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else you'd like to share?
I'm just trying to think what else I saw. I also think that there is a feeling of paths in there as well, because when I had a life review, I saw other ways I could have lived or died as Paul Northridge. go back to the alcohol because it reminded me of another memory going off. I saw when I was living in my previous house, I saw a moment where I could have actually died in that house because I was drinking far too much, and there was a moment where, because unfortunately I was quite dark and tired, and so I thought at one moment I thought just to keep drinking and maybe just end my life in that house. And there was a vision of then when I was sitting on the sofa thinking this, conversation went off in my head, and I don't know where this conversation came from, but it said basically this voice in my head said, "Paul, do you remember this scene in your life review where you was thinking about doing this moment?" I said, "Yes." "Well, do you want to really do this? Do you want to do it all again?" Like, no, I don't want to do it all again. So it's almost like that feeling of like my guides came back to me a little bit into my head a little bit and said, "Do you want to do all of this again?" I'm like, no. So I kind of like thought, okay, I'm gonna start, and that's why I thought, okay, let's go back to Russia. Let's do. I don't know why. I was really like wanted to go back to Russia for one moment, and that moment of like I didn't plan. I didn't plan to fall in love with Yulia. Yulia didn't plan to fall in love with me. We didn't plan it. We didn't think it. But because of that one moment, and I gave her a hug at that moment, you know, it happens. Amazing.
Did you hear those guides before your near-death experience?
I do hear things things in my head. I do feel that these guides are still around, and we can see with our eyes only a certain amount of what's it called, light spectrum or something. I'm not technical. I'm not a scientist, but with our eyes we can only see a certain amount of stuff. I think our guides are around us all the time. Maybe that's my own feelings. Not all the time, but I mean they're looking after us a lot. And I do believe that yeah, they're here to support us as much as possible. Remind us that maybe I've been here before as Paul Northridge and done certain things before, and because I didn't listen before to my guides. Maybe I've done stupid things before, and maybe I keep coming back as Paul Northridge. And this time I'm thinking, okay, it's been like a Groundhog Day moment going on a little bit. And I'm trying to say, okay, I'm trying to improve my life. I'm Paul Northridge number 5, whatever. This is where I'm trying to improve my life this time.
So would you say your guides are louder since your near-death experience? Like you notice them more, or like they were there before?
Maybe louder, or maybe that maybe Paul Northridge number 5 is saying like, I think we have done this a few times. Let's try and improve. Let's try and improve on these times. And yeah, so I think I'm more. Hopefully, this Paul Northridge is more aware, and I've not. Don't get me wrong. I've not been brilliant. I've learned a lot of mistakes, and I'm trying to correct those mistakes by being where I am now. So I'm trying to be the Paul Northridge who's better than yesterday. So that's what I'm trying to be from now onwards.
Any final words you'd like to leave us with?
The final words, I would say the words that I came back with were definitely the three buzzwords: love, learning, and connection. I do believe that we are, if we can try to get rid of the ideas that we are, our gender, our age, our skin color. We're basically souls. At the end of the day, we're not these labels that we are. I think sometimes we are trying to be played a little bit divided by each other because of our differences. Let's not be dwelling on differences. Let's try to be loving each other for our soul, not our differences. If that's any sense to yourself. Does that make sense there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. and that's why I really feel that, you know, if we could be that way, then the world would be so much better. And I do feel that you know, we keep coming back to the earth, but as a species, we're not being the best people. You know, we could be so much better. You know, I want people to be the best we can.
Okay. Well, thank you. It's been very interesting.
Oh, thank you, Peggy. Thank you, and I hope it was interesting for people out there. I do apologise for being English, and I've had a few interviews before, and some people have said I don't understand his English accent.
Oh, I understood you just fine.
Oh, thank you, thank you. I tried to slow down. I speak too fast. My wife, bless her, so when she's obviously Russian, she's like, Paul, slow. So I'm trying to slow.
My husband has to tell me to slow down too. Sometimes I get talking too fast.
Oh, bless you. Yeah, it's like I get excited. I get excited about this topic. I get too excited, and you know, it's a nice topic to talk about. And if people want to contact me, I do have a Facebook page as Paul Author, Paul Northridge Author. And I have Unite Planet. It's my channel that I do work with. Johnny is a very good friend of mine. We basically work together, and we do interviews. We talk about near-death experiences, documentaries, all sorts of things like that as well. So we try to give, you know, again, Unite is all about, you know, get rid of those labels, and, you know, yes, Unite as a planet.
And I think you sent me all that. I'll put it in your description so people can find you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very
All
much.
right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay. Thanks for your time, Peggy. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Bye.
Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.
You too.